About the ecosystem, I noticed that it is quite a hot word today. So how do you identify ecosystem?
Yeah, it is very good question because it is very popular topic. Everybody talks about ecosystem, but not everybody understands what ecosystem is. Everybody thinks ecosystem, Silicon Valley. In my lecture, I gave different definition of ecosystem. An ecosystem is an environment where not only startups are being created, but where the system creates new industries, a new sector, not only new startups. And I gave the example of the ecosystem in Israel, which is very, very dynamic.
So yes, you also mentioned that actually your topic today is very popular and what China is very maybe concerned about.
Yeah.
As maybe Silicon Valley and also as well as Israel is a maybe good example for Chinese people to study.
Yeah, and you see, I'm working in China for almost 15 years already, and I've seen the fast progress in China in all areas, also in entrepreneurship. And there is a lot of entrepreneurship, there is a lot of startup, there is a lot of technology in China. But the challenge China has is they can only do what exists. So if there is something existing, they can take it further, they can develop it faster, they can do it cheaper, bigger. For example, Alipay, very popular in China. You do everything with your mobile phone, but it was not created here. It was invented somewhere else. It was became popular here. So the challenge of Chinese ecosystems is to start creating something new. And this is what the ecosystem in Israel is all about. It's not only creating very many startups, innovative technology, a nice product, very interesting companies, but really creating new things that do not exist. And I gave the example of the self-driving car. In Israel, there is no car industry. China has much more car industry and car factories than in Israel. They never had one. Still, most of the technologies for self-driving cars comes from Israel. Why? Because it is an ecosystem that can create something new. So when the ecosystem can create, transform itself, create new industry, then you will have new startup, new innovation, and not only looking of existing.
I noticed that at the end of your speech, you also raised the question how to Chinese to maybe create their own. I noticed you just identify it one word, stem cells. So how about your answer?
Yeah, so this was nice in this lecture because I could give all the concept but not give the answer. I give the question but not the answer. And it has two reasons. One reason is that in Jewish tradition, the way to learn is by asking questions. So if we start from kindergarten and elementary school, what we teach children is not to memorize, is not to learn. We teach children to ask questions. I teach my students to ask questions. And if you get answer, ask another question. Why? This is how you learn. So what I did in my lecture, I just asked a question. I did not give the answer. It is very complex for China because it is a huge country and there are many policy programs for entrepreneurship, mass entrepreneurship and innovation, the 5-year program, Belt and Road program. So there are many of these programs. But China has not yet developed stem cell ecosystem. And stem cell ecosystem is an ecosystem that can transform itself every time. It happened to China as a nation. It happened to Israel as a nation. China is 6,000-year history, and it went from one phase to the other over 6,000 years. It transformed itself, and the last transformation of China started with the economic reforms in 1978, and then it transformed again and again. The same should happen with creating ecosystem that is transforming itself time and again and creating new industry, not taking the existing. China excels in taking something existing and doing it better. They do excellent design, but you need to move to the next phase where you start creating things. And in order to have it, to make it happen, you need this stem cell ecosystem.
Professor Li also introduced that you are maybe one of the initiators of the conference.
Yes.
And this is the first time.
Yes.
So how do you think about this time?
Every conference from the first one is becoming better every year. The first one we did, I started it together with Professor Li Zheng from Jilin University. And we thought we'd do one conference. We did not think of every year, one conference. Why? Because you don't know if it will be successful, so you do one. It was extremely successful, high level guest speeches, and then we did the next one, both of them in Jilin. And we had Dan Shechtman, Nobel Prize giving presentation. We had the Israeli ambassador in China giving presentation there. And last year we took the conference to Israel. Professor Daphna Schwartz did the conference. Each year it is becoming better. I know Yuli Zhang from Nankai many years also. I've been here, I think, 2006, first time that I was in Nankai University. So I've seen the program, the papers, extremely interesting, successful conference. Next year will be even better. Yeah.
And you will also to host a speech tomorrow as a presenter?
I will facilitate a session, so I will be introducing the speakers, yes.
So
yes.
How about, could you do some introduction to us?
I think it will be a very interesting session, so it's worthwhile coming. Some of the speakers, for example, just to give one example, Professor Daphna Schwartz is a good friend. I work with her at Ben Gurion University. Because I have interesting life. I have appointment, my home university is University of Amsterdam. I have appointment at Jilin University and I have appointment at Ben Gurion University in Israel. So I'm flying Amsterdam, Israel, China all the time. So Professor Daphna Schwartz, she's managing the Center of Entrepreneurship in Ben Gurion University. But at the same time, she's director in large companies. So she knows the world from both sides. And this is very important for entrepreneurship. Not only theories and paper and research, but also the reality, what happens outside. So it is very interesting to listen to this type of people. They can link the theory with the practice. So this is the session that will be presented there. Professor Li Zheng will also give a paper. And I know him also for many years. He came as young postdoc to work with me in Amsterdam for 1 year. So he did a lot of research. He's working now on ecosystem with his PhD student. By the way, I have now 3 of my Chinese PhD students participating in this conference. One of them is already associate professor, Yang Song. San Tse, she's assistant professor. And the last one, Liang, is in his last year with his PhD with me. So all of them are doing interesting work now.
We really look forward to maybe going to the speech tomorrow.
Yeah, because what is more interesting, so when I speak, of course, it is interesting and intelligent, etc. But sometimes when you hear other people, or when I hear young people, young students, they have nice idea. So sometimes I think, oh, this student is smarter than I am. I can learn from him, which is very important. We, professors, we don't know everything. Sometimes brilliant students say, hey, this is a different way of thinking. This is why it's so fun working with young students.
I also noticed that you are the director of an entrepreneurship center in the Science Park in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And we also know that maybe Science Park also a very popular concept in Europe now. So how about the situation in Holland?
Yeah. This is also interesting. Science Park Amsterdam exists now more than 25 years. They did not have entrepreneurship there. So in 2007, I established the first Center of Entrepreneurship at Science Park Amsterdam. Its name was SPACE, Science Park Amsterdam Center of Entrepreneurship. And I established it as cooperation between the science faculty and the economic faculty, as a cooperation between them. I managed this center for 5 years. And it was the first time that scientists had the opportunity to work with business students to generate projects. So if scientist has brilliant invention, they write article. Business people, when they see, or business school students, when they see brilliant idea, they think, hey, what can I do with it outside? How can I commercialize it? So we had teams of scientists with 4 business students working together on making commercialization out of the research. And this is what Science Park is all about. Fundamental research, basic research, applied research, and then looking at what research result can solve problem in a society or in the business. So this is what we did, and now it is very, very dynamic. There are startup centers, there are incubators, there is a lot of activity there.
And it is also common in Holland to maybe people to start up their own business.
Yeah, I started the first entrepreneurship program at our business school. We have a program that is called Entrepreneurship and Innovation. We have in the business school every year, it is master level, so the business school is master. We have about 500 new students every year, and they can choose entrepreneurship, strategy, marketing, finance, etc. Entrepreneurship is one of the most popular programs, and we have something like 70 students a year doing only entrepreneurship, many of them starting their own companies. So we have already our students that became successful entrepreneurs with successful businesses. Some of them ladies started companies, technology companies.
Really?
Yeah, it is very popular, but not after graduation. Most of our students, what they do, they work for 1 or 2 or 3 years, learn the industry, gain experience, contact, and then they start their business. Most of them. Only few start after graduation, most of them after 3 years of experience. And we have contact with all of them. By the way, next week when I come, there will be event of the student, they organize it by themselves. It is called market event. What they do, they bring previous year students who already started business to talk with the student that graduate this year and to start generating jobs for them. So there is a lot of activity around entrepreneurship in Amsterdam.
How about the rate of success for maybe the startup?
Okay, let me tell you one sentence that I explain all of my students. The most probable outcome of startup is failure. So the most probable outcome, which means the first thing you have to think when you start, you have a good idea and you think, this is the best thing ever, I'm going to start a business. The next thing you have to think, probably it will fail. Most ventures fail. Only few are successful. But even the ones who are great success, they become success after 1 or 2 or 3 failures. Nobody starts immediately. But if you have good basis in entrepreneurship education, you are likely to do less mistakes in the beginning, so the probability of success is much higher. And this is what we teach our students. The most probable outcome is failure, which means that you build your strategy such that you will increase your probability of success.
Okay, my questions are finished now, and we just finished before.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, interesting question, by the way. Yeah.